The eclipse season, October 14th and October 28th, 2023. Written, directed, and presented by Reverend Dr. Dickie Joe Mullen. The eclipse season in October starts with the solar eclipse in the new moon on October 14th, 2023, and ends with the lunar eclipse in the full moon on October 28th, 2023. The metaphor for this season is a shipwreck. It is also referred to as the ducks fly full moon on October 28th. It is a time of migration for birds and humans. Dr. Mullen presents a most interesting reflection on this fall season.
Must be the season of the witch, Stitch Witch. I'm Dickie Joe Mullen in Orlando, Florida. We're talking about the eclipse season coming up, and that song from Donovan keeps going over and over in my mind. And the lyrics to that song are very mysterious, paranormal, and supernatural. They very much describe this Halloween season eclipse. A season of eclipse is when there are two eclipses. They're always at a new or a full moon. It encompasses the eclipses and the whole 2-week period between that new moon and full moon. Very turbulent, major turning points in the world. The eclipses are going to be a solar eclipse at the new moon on October the 14th of 2023. That's a Saturday. And then a lunar eclipse at the full moon right before Halloween on October 28th, 2023, which is also a Saturday. And lunations on a new or a full moon tend to be very intense and extreme, maybe because of the way we all respond to another cycle, the 7 days of the week. But it's quite an autumn for us to look forward to. Of course, all of this is just energy. It's the way we respond to it and use it, the celestial tides. And that's really the secret of astrology. Where Donovan talks about pick up a restitch, I think he's really talking about the stitchwort, which is a plant that is particularly tied in with metaphysical and spiritual energies, and that very much reflects what's going on here. On October the 14th, 2023, at 1:55 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, there will be a solar new moon eclipse in Libra, 21 degrees Libra. And a solar eclipse is always right on the new moon. And this is going to be one that is a very important time not to be careless, to be a little careful. It's near the fixed star Foramen, which relates to Saturn, Jupiter energies. Dignity and piety are important, and the symbol that goes with this, the picture symbol, is a shipwreck or acquisitiveness. Now, are you going to be a salvage person and get what's left over after the shipwreck? The work of the shipwreck goes on, or are you going to go under? Have to kind of decide. And this is a time when you can be extremely lazy and non-committal, and it can be hard to schedule or agree with things. Proving loyalty and friendship can be a special issue. And it is also a time when planning, looking ahead to the future, is important. During the 8 hours following the exact new moon, again that's after 1:55 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, write your wish list as to what you would wish for, and think of Libra-ruled things: justice, partnership, balance, beauty, good manners, how that relates to what's going on in your own life. If we use a wide orb, the fixed star Spica is kind of near this, but it's really closer to Foramen, the other fixed star. Spica is considered extremely fortunate, extremely lucky. So look to see which energy seems to be there. We'll do a little bit of research here with our video. And it's in the 8-hour period again, which would be, let me see, until just before 10 p.m. that evening, where you want to write your wish list. Looking at the solar eclipse on October 14th, we have Venus in Virgo. Venus is out of retrograde and going direct again in Virgo. But Venus in Virgo is very critical. So balance anything critical you're saying to your loved ones with something kind and supportive. It does favor anything to do with small animals or pets, which have a co-rulership with Virgo. Good time maybe to visit a rescue mission and to adopt a small animal, a pet. Mars will be in its own co-ruling sign of Scorpio. Mars is very strong in Scorpio. This is intense interest, passion, initiatives. Releasing old resentments is important. It's a very volatile 2-week period, and there can be just a lot going on with managing stress and the stress level. The eclipse season extends. That new moon eclipse begins it, and then it will peak at the lunar eclipse, the full moon, on October the 29th. And in our time zone, it's the 28th. We astrologers have to work with Greenwich Mean Time and Daylight Time and everything, so forgive me there. But the lunar eclipse here will be October the 28th, 2023, 4:24 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And that eclipse is going to represent kind of a crescendo, a peak of the eclipse season and all the wild, crazy events we might experience during the 2 weeks between October 14th and October 28th will make some sense then. Taking a closer look at this October 28th chart, I can see that the degree of the moon is going to be 5 degrees Taurus, 09, and Scorpio, the sun, is always right across from the full moon. 5 degrees Scorpio, 09 for the sun, 5 degree Taurus, 09 for the moon. And they kind of both mirror each other. And the symbol for here is a monster with 2 faces, like the ancient god Janus. So anything that you would see as being two-faced, monstrous would be scary, but remember monsters are usually an illusion. So they may not be literal monsters, but duplicity and not trusting everything. Slander and discretion are very important. The fixed star Kambala, the left foot of Virgo is here. That translates as crooked claw. And so something is crooked, not quite right. There's a Mercury-Mars nature to this fixed star. Everything seems to say, look out for unreliable people, and for any situation that could become violent, stay away from that. In the language of full moons, we always have a lot of picture images that go with the full moon. The full moon in October, which is the same as the lunar eclipse, is often portrayed as the duck's fly moon, and that means that there's a lot of migration into the new season. Those of you who are snowbirds here in Florida will be heading home or heading back and forth, depending on where your home is. And we'll all be aware of migrating birds, migrating animals. Sometimes it's called the snow moon, and there can be some early snowfall coming up. And sometimes it's called the blood moon. Blood, because that's when animals were sacrificed for the winter harvest. Hogs and other animals that are turned into food for the winter or hunting. Kind of hard for those of us who are vegetarians to deal with, but if you look at the broader symbolism, it makes sense in earlier times and even to an extent today of preparing for the winter with the food steps, the flowing of the blood. And it's the beginning of a time called the gloom time in the wheel of the year. It's not gloom as in gloomy and negative, but gloom as in quiet. The hours of deepest darkness are coming up. We're looking ahead to the winter solstice, when the hours of darkness peak and we reach the time when there is the least amount of daylight time. And day by day we're headed that way with the final lunar eclipse. And so thinking of what the darkness, quiet might mean to you, the shifting of the season. It's right on the eve of Halloween, the old Celtic New Year, a time of mystery and dealing with entities that aren't quite of the light. It is also a time when we want to go deeply within ourselves, being very introspective during this time period. All of these predictions for this eclipse season will affect us at 90-day intervals. Astrologers disagree on how long an eclipse season lasts. Some say just 3 months. I personally think it's a whole year. And also then the moon node can tie in with that. That's called the nodal axis for everyone who is more versed in astrology. The 90-day intervals would be January coming up, and also April. January, April, and July in the year 2024, next year as we're recording this, will bring to fruition all the predictions and ideas and things that we see as a hint coming up during this season of the eclipse. So thinking of the brightest and the best, and remember, out of the deepest darkness can come the light. It's always darkest before the dawn. Those ideas can be important to reflect upon as we explore and enjoy the gloom time. Here in Florida, we all look forward to it because finally it's nice and cool. In other parts of the country, you might be thinking of being snowbirds flying which way. In any event, Dickie Jo again wishing you a bright and beautiful Halloween season.
Reverend Dr. Dickie Jo Mullen, astrologer, psychic, and parapsychologist. Dr. Mullen provides the following services: astrology, psychic, rune, and tarot card readings, face-to-face and Zoom readings and seances, and webinars and face-to-face presentations. Thank you for watching. Reverend Dr. Dickie Jo Mullen can be contacted at her skymaiden@juno.com email address. She also has a Facebook page, which she invites you to view, and her WordPress site, where she has additional resources.